An envelope thuds onto the polished table, its wax seal splattered with something dark. Fingers hover above it, tremor visible, then a shaky inhale. No one reaches for it. The chandelier lights flicker. The cat bolts from beneath a chair, as if it smelled the weight of what's inside. Every fork stops midair. Someone whispers the word shame, but no one dares demand why. The chandelier hums back to a steady glow as the family settles around the table, napkins falling back into laps with practiced ease. Plates already rimmed with rosemary and lemon glisten in the soft light. Someone quietly pats the cat's head before it retreats under the sideboard, tail twitching but content. A low murmur of polite conversation resumes. Clarissa recounts how the courtyard roses have finally stopped wilting. Marcus checks the watch he always wears despite never leaving the estate. And young Lila balances a spoon with an almost defiant calm. Across from the envelope, hands pace a slow, familiar rhythm. Ladling gravy, refilling wine, passing bread without remark. Loyalty is a language here. Glances exchanged, a shared nod when someone reaches for a dish. The way each person sets down their fork in sync with the others. No one speaks of shame aloud, but the silence around the sealed edge makes the ritual feel heavier, as if every clause of their shared history is still honored by sitting together. The table, polished to a dull shine, reflects their faces without judgment, reminding them that, for now, this is still how they survive. Attentive, coordinated, and quietly bound by promises yet unbroken. Mara thumped a cardboard box down onto the dining table. The lid rattled against silverware. Dust spiraled into the shaft of sunlight, cutting across the room. "The day we promised to see her," she said, flipping open the top and pulling a stack of envelopes tied with pink ribbon. The edges were brown with time. We all swore we'd take turns sitting with her while the chemo worked. Jonas reached over to lift a letter, fingers trembling. "You weren't even 12, he muttered. Mara didn't look up. Neither was anyone else. "But I promised," she corrected, voice rough. "You promised, Noah." Her eyes flicked to their father, then sidled toward Noah at the far end of the table, his hands curled into the chair arms. Noah leaned back, jaw clenched, then leaned forward, pressing the heel of his hand along the grain of the table. "There were nights I was scared to open the door," he said, shoulders tightening. "I told myself you all were doing more than me. You all were already hurt," Mara shot back. Silence started to sound like loyalty. We never said no to leaving. A sound like a sob pressed against the back of Emma's throat. She tightened her fingers on her coffee mug until the ceramic creaked. "It was easier," she whispered, "to let Dad drive her to appointments alone." Dad stood as if summoned by Emma's whisper. "I didn't know how to ask," he said, pacing a slow circle. "I thought keeping it quiet would stop the whole thing from breaking apart." His voice cracked. "I didn't stop it either." Noah's mouth twisted. "We traded openness for peace." He spat, then rocked back. But peace was just waiting for something worse. Jonas slid one of the envelopes back into the box and set the ribbon on top. "We all acted like a missing person," he said, eyes raking the walls. "Nobody wanted to be the first to say it was gone." Mara pushed the box toward the center. "We can't keep pretending the word promise still means the same. But we can tell the truth about why it's broken." Emma let out a short laugh, almost a bark. "So maybe the next time someone says they'll be there, we answer with a start time?" Noah slammed his palm on the table, making the cutlery jump. "If silence was protecting no one," he said, glaring at the ceiling, "then speaking up is the first step." Dad sank into a chair, scrubbing the heels of his hands across his face. I won't keep protecting the people who hurt themselves by pretending everything is okay, he murmured, then cleared his throat. His gaze rested on each of them. I'll sit with her next time. I won't stop telling you when the chemo schedules come. Jonas leaned forward, eyes narrowed. We still owe ourselves that promise, he said, to actually show up. The air stilled. Mara closed the box with a soft snap and slid it toward Emma. Then we start today, she said. Noah was still fanning the damp spot on the table with a cloth when the hallway door banged open. Lyra swept in, her coat dragged low, boots slapping tile. The grandkids flinched and clustered near Mara, who had bent to gather the ribbon letters again, the satin taut between her fingers. Lyra's eyes flicked past them and landed on the family seated stiffly around the table. She took a steadying breath and stepped forward. I kept another one, she said, before anyone could welcome her. Her voice rattled through the kitchen like a dropped pan. Not because I didn't care, because I was scared of how messy it would get if I told anyone. Noah's grip on the cloth tightened. Ego Father turned from the window, jaw clenched. Mara set the letters down, fingers still fluttering. Out with it, Noah said. Lyra pulled a folded envelope from her coat pocket, one of the same yellowed stock that had held the first promise. She didn't show the name, just slid it onto the table near Mara. The promise was to stand by Aunt Serena when she couldn't leave the rehab. I told myself I'd keep it quiet until I got through the surrogacy. Her lips went thin. I lied to the rest of you about when the patrol would come by. Said I'd already signed up for a shift, so no one asked more questions. Her fingers trembled around the edge of the envelope. I didn't want to risk being called a burden. I hid it because I was ashamed of needing help. Mara snatched the letter and opened it. As the folded page unfurled, the grandkids leaned closer, eyes wide. You said you'd drive me every Thursday. Lyra read aloud, voice hollow. And when Aunt Serena called on Tuesday, you said you were out of town. A giggle bubbled from the youngest, but it died when Lyra's shoulders shook. The air went heavy. A distant sound from outside, the clatter of a delivery truck, came in as a punctuation mark. You left one of them alone, Mara said, not looking away from the letter. She wrapped her free hand around Lyra's wrist hard enough to keep it from falling. You left her waiting. I thought I could cover it later, Lyra snapped, then shut her mouth. She glanced at Ego Father, who had been silent all this time. I thought if I never said it, then no one else would see how selfish I was. An elder niece, Julia, stepped forward and set her small hand on Lyra's arm. We can cover the Thursdays now. I can take the bus, I can... No, Ego Father said, voice worn. We cover them because she promised, not because I feel like I owe her forgiveness. Lyra, I'm not assigning you guilt. I'm saying you made a promise. He breathed, then looked toward the children. The fracture isn't just about us hiding. It's about every gap where trust should have been shared. It spreads through the cousins, even through the briefs to the sitter. The air vibrated, as if the room itself were holding its breath. Lyra dug her nails into her palm, the skin whitening. And then she reached down and lifted the youngest child, who had padded toward her. The child curled her fingers around Lyra's button-down shirt, trust forming in a tremor. Lyra let out a raw sound, half apology, half pledge. Thursday, I'm there, she said, the words falling like a promise finely crushed. And I'm telling everyone about what happened. No more hiding. You'll all know when I fail so we can fix it. Together. The youngest kid giggled, as if sensing the shift, and Mara offered Lyra a small, reluctant smile. Noah exhaled slowly. We keep this going. Every Thursday, someone checks in. No silence. If you can't make it, you say so and we adjust. That's the only way this thing doesn't keep spreading. Lyra nodded and placed a hand on the envelope. The fracture map in Noah's mind widened, but so did the circle of hands reaching to close it. Noah sets the unfinished sandwich down, rubs the back of his neck, and says, "Then why did we keep silence?" The room holds on to that question while Lyra unfolds another page from the stack of letters. She doesn't preface it. She reads it aloud to the empty space between them, the words heavy with promises she already knows they broke. I said I'd be there on Thursdays. Then I let you down. Everyone did. Kai, the youngest, slides off the couch and walks toward the kitchen table where the ashtray still contains cold cigarette stubs. He picks one up, pinches the tip between his fingers, and crushes it with a deliberate snap. Loyalty became a trap, he says, pacing now, the sound of his footsteps punctuating the hurt. We were told loyalty meant swallowing the lies you told us. When you promised to hold Aunt Serena's hand and then disappeared, that loyalty started feeling like a cudgel. His voice cracks again and again. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He rewrites the rules as he speaks. Mara leans forward, eyes fixed on Kai. "Then tell us what you need," she says, her voice steady but pointed. "Not a promise from the past. Tell us now." Kai's stare doesn't waver. He points at the letters on the table. "You read those, Lyra. We read them too. But we weren't part of the making. We were the ones being weaponized. So if someone says they need us to trust them again, they have to show us they can keep promises when they involve us. That means transparency, and no more pretending we're too young to understand the stakes." His hands shake as he gestures, but he doesn't stop. Lyra closes her eyes, then opens them to show her bare focus. "I'm done pretending loyalty can coerce them into silence," she says, grabbing a pen and flipping the binder open to a new page. "If loyalty means hiding the truth, then I'll never wear that uniform again." She scribbles, then slams the pen down. "We'll write down every night each of us commits to. No more unspoken schedules, no more excuses." The binder now carries Kai's additions beside the old promises, an action that makes the air between them shift. Olivia, who has been quiet, takes a deep breath and stands. She walks to the doorway, opens it, and lets in the noise from the street. The ambulance siren in the distance, the footsteps of someone hurrying by. She then turns back and quietly announces, "I want to sit with Kai this afternoon. He asked for us to show up, not just say we will." Kai nods, a small tilt of his head that says enough. Noah grabs a stack of calendars and spreads them open, marking Kai's afternoons, Lyra's Thursdays, Mara's weekend visits. They are making plans together. Each strike of the pen a small payoff. Trust measured not by words, but by verified, visible commitments. The younger members plant themselves near the table now, leaning into the work with intent. Kai, still standing, looks at Noah. "I'll keep you honest," he says. Noah inhales sharply, then nods. Mara, still holding the letters, places them beside the calendar, then gently sets her hand on Kai's shoulder. She doesn't apologize. She simply stays there, solid. The room shifts from accusation to shared responsibility, the tension easing into a new rhythm of deliberate action. The dining room fills with voices as Mara slides the commitment log closer and taps Kai's name. "We can't keep rehearsing the same apologies," she says, fingers splayed on the paper. "If honesty has to hide behind polished stories, nothing changes." Ego stood with his hand on the back of a chair. The fabric creased from where he'd gripped it during the last family meeting. Reputation still matters, he said, the words brittle. People outside this house will look for the version of us that still looks strong. His eyes flicked to Noah, to the younger ones, to Lyra, as if seeking support. Noah leaned forward, elbows on the table. Strength is in fixing what broke, not hiding it, he snapped. The reputation you're guarding is just the shape of denial. His breath rose with each syllable. Lyra stood and pushed her chair back, the legs screeching. Those apologies aren't automatic, she said. I buried Serena's rehab texts because I was afraid of being the selfish daughter again. Her voice shook, but she kept the focus on the words. I broke the promise, and I know the trust I cracked is still leaking. She grabbed the folder with the ribbon-wrapped letters and lifted them like proof. You all deserve to see the mess I made. A younger member, the same one who had leaned on Lyra before, stepped forward and placed a hand on her forearm. You can't fix it by making us guess your motives, the teen said, voice steady. We need to see you take responsibility. Lyra exhaled and set the letters on the table. I'll take Serena's Thursday slot, she said. I'll call her now. Tell her I'm on the schedule. No more whispers. She reached for her phone, thumbing open the contact list. I'll read every rehab update aloud to you if that helps, she added, eyes on Ego as if daring him to disagree. Ego's jaw tightened. No one's saying stop protecting the family, he murmured. But the tension in his shoulders was unmistakable. Mara cut in. Protection means owning our failures. She slid her hand across the log to where the new Thursday entry glowed in black ink. We're tracking it in real time. Olivia's on Kai this afternoon, Mara tomorrow, Lyra Thursdays. The younger member nodded. We respond when someone misses a shift, they said. No silence, no covering for each other's fear. Lyra's phone buzzed before she could dial. Serena, she heard herself say. I'm coming Thursday. We cover the missed promises together. The relief in her voice was a wince and a release all at once, as she mouthed the time to the room. 4 p.m., Rehab Center. Noah let out a breath, the argument fatigue easing. This is the new truth, he said, gesturing to the letters in the log. Call it reputation, call it accountability. We're not hiding anymore. He caught Ego's eyes, and Ego's posture loosened slightly, the fight in his shoulders shifting toward the work ahead. The room settled into the hum of the refrigerator and the steady ticking of the old wall clock. But the air carried a new kind of weight, concrete, shared, and in motion. The living room smelled of coffee and paper. Mara set the stack of letters in the center of the table, the ribbon unwound, pages sliding like secrets. Kai leaned over, tracing the first promise. Sit with Serena during chemo, with a finger as if the ink might still have warmth. Betrayal shaped how we talk, Mara said. For decades we learned trust came with a silent clause. Look the other way when vows cracked. She flipped to another page, running her thumb under a paragraph where Ego had written, I stayed away. The work was more important. Olivia held up her phone. We listed those promises, but we need to name who broke them, what it cost, and what repair looks like. Start with the chemo vow, the rehab slot, the Thursday watch. She slid the phone into Kai's hand. He opened the commitment log, the time slots already filled. But now he added a column labeled Broken Vow and filled it with scrawled initials and dates. Lyra straightened, the sheet shaking. I lied about showing up after rehab, she said, throat tight. I thought silence would keep me from appearing selfish. She slammed her palm on the table, the binder rattling. I see now how that silence became betrayal. Ego's jaw hardened. We can't just rehash every mistake, he snapped. then softened when Kai looked up without blinking. "Tell me what honest reconciliation requires," he added, voice lower. Olivia picked up the pen, scribbled. 1. Every missed promise gets a log entry, then the responsible person calls whoever waited. She tapped the paper. 2. If you can't keep a day, you tell someone before the day ends, not after the fact. He kept the phone on speaker, voice steady as he spoke the truth, listing the Thursdays he missed and promising the new check-ins. The room exhaled. Kai's shoulders slumped, a small reward. Reality acknowledged, not smoothed over. They agreed. No quick forgiveness, no pretending hurt vanished. Each broken vow would stay recorded. Each person would share accountability. Olivia clipped the updated log into the binder, snapping it shut with a crisp sound of something real. This afternoon's payoff. Kai would still sit with Aunt Serena. Olivia would text check-ins daily. Lyra's Thursday rehab slot now had a confirmed ride. The betrayal wasn't gone, but pieces of it were named, weighed, and scheduled for repair. Noah drags the updated log toward the center of the table. The newest column labeled Same-Day Notification. His pen scratches through an old entry while Mara, knuckles white on her mug, pushes the ribbon letters toward Ego. "We promised to sit with Aunt Serena during chemo," she says, tapping the stack. The letters still smell like that first hospital hallway. Ego lifts the phone, the screen already on Serena's name. The caller ID flickers as he hits the speaker button. "I'm calling," he insists, and his voice steadies even though his hand trembles on the edge of the table. "You all said you needed to hear her." Serena answers before he can speak. Her sigh slices through the kitchen noise, but she doesn't hang up. "You're calling," she says, and her voice lands harder than any accusation. "After months of weeks, when no one told me you were even alive." "I know," Ego replies, fists tightening. "And I know that isn't enough. I missed every Thursday I said I'd be there. I'm the one who switched the rides without telling anyone. I let silence pretend that made it better." Silence falls. The kind that used to stretch for months, now contained by everyone's breath. On the other end, Serena's laugh is brittle. "Do you remember the plan in that notebook? The one you wrote with your shaking handwriting?" He nods, then lays out the call schedule. "I can't undo those Thursdays, but I can drive you to rehab tonight. I can stay in the waiting room. If I can't be there, I'll tell someone before noon. No more secrets." Kai leans forward, his forearms on the table. "We want to know when you break something too," he says. "Not after Aunt Serena shows up alone. Not after weeks of silence." Serena exhales, softer now. "If the truth is what you're trading, then I need to hear it before I start chemo next week. Your daughter already told me about the log. I'll be waiting." Ego looks at each face around the table. The log open, the letters on Mara's palm. "Then I'm taking tonight's rehab drive," he says. "And I'll call every morning before 8. If I'm late, I'll text Mara and Noah with ETA. I'm not letting silence become the story again." Lyra straightens, pressing her thumbs into the edge of the table. "I didn't tell Aunt Serena I had to skip last Thursday because I thought she'd judge me for being tired," she confesses. "That's on me." "No more hidden excuses," Olivia says, tapping her own section of the log. "If the commitment falters, we put it in the column, we say it out loud, we plan how to fix it that night." Kai nods. "I'm starting a quick nightly check-in with Aunt Serena from the rehab room," he adds. "Olivia, you'll drop in twice a week." Mara crosses the table to hug Lyra, the ribboned letters rustling against her shoulder. "This is how we honor the promise," she whispers. and the hug pulls Lyra into the story they're weaving. No silence, no hiding. With the speaker still on, Serena says, "I hear everyone. Keep telling me the truth." The family settles into the new rhythm. The log, a promise, and a map. They've already moved. Ego's speaker call, Serena's reply, Lyra's confession, Kai and Olivia's scheduling. Each event giving them a small victory. A drive arranged, a confession acknowledged, a schedule signed. The tension recedes slightly, replaced by the hard-earned calm of people who finally speak the truth and turn it into action. The room holds the quiet that follows a storm. Mara's fingers still trail the ribboned letters, as if feeling the weight of every promise. Kai leans into Olivia. Their check-in notes spread like a small, deliberate constellation, while the youngest shoulder rests against Lyra's hip, a living reminder of the Thursdays once forsaken. Ego's voice, softer now, traces the new column of entries and the fresh accountability lines, his own name penciled beside each confession. He has already said out loud that tonight he will sit in the rehab room, and the family has heard him promise, over the speaker, to call Serena before noon with proof. Lyra wears the same stubborn honesty she once hid with fatigue, and she has just pressed her palms to the table, feeling the tremor of those broken vows. Olivia rises to take the chair beside Kai, turning the words into warmth in the afternoon air, while Mara, steadier than before, closes the log with a slow, certain hand. They do not look for undoing. The past is a map of fresh scars, and the only path ahead is this exact, shared one.